Hey, this is Alex from Ninja Teacher, and I'm at my favorite cafe here in Saigon, Vietnam. At least one of my favorites. There's lots of cool ones out here. And I just saw in the parking lot there were a whole lot of motorbikes around, as you can see. And I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about getting a motorbike in Vietnam, because clearly it's something that most people do in Vietnam. Most people get around on motorbikes. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how you can go ahead and get a motorbike, whether you rent or buy one, how much it costs to maintain, because I actually just broke down, or my motorbike just broke down recently. So today I went and fixed it and it was really cheap, so I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then basically, you know, how much gas costs and all that. So crack into that in this video. So things have been going really well lately. I've got a 3-person team right now helping people get started teaching out here. So 2017 is going to be a really big year with that, and we're going to help a lot of people. So thought I'd put out this video so that all the people who have the questions about motorbikes can check this video out and get a sense of what their options are. So firstly, the most important thing is, well, you don't actually have to get a motorbike. I know a lot of people are apprehensive about coming out here and getting one of these motorbikes that are a little bit, you know, scary to a certain degree when you see the traffic and riding them around the city. A lot of people are not sure if that's something they really want to do. Well, you don't have to. Uber is really cheap out here. Taxis are relatively cheap. And there's even something called GrabBike and Uber Bike, which you can just get a motorbike taxi. So you can just hop on the back of a taxi with someone, motorbike taxi, and they'll take you where you want to go. And it's extremely cheap. Like most rides somewhere in the city will be less than $1. You know, if it's far, maybe 20 minutes, it might be $2 or something like that. So it's very, very cheap to do that. So you don't need to get a motorbike if you don't want it. That being said, motorbikes are awesome. I have one. This is my one right over here. It's Honda Dream, really old, as you can see, and I tried to do a paint job on it, but it washed off. Obviously didn't have the right paint. But basically, motorbikes are really convenient to get around because they're cheap, easy, and Ho Chi Minh City, as well as up in Hanoi, are both great cities to get around on motorbikes. Now, the reason for that is, you know, you can just hop on, get to where you want to go very quickly, very easily. The traffic looks kind of scary, but it's actually not that bad. Unless you're stuck in peak hour traffic, getting around is a breeze. I actually love this city for getting around. But that means getting a motorbike, right? So where do you start? Well, you can rent one, and that's probably what I recommend you do when you first arrive here. Just rent one for like $40 a month. It's really cheap. You can go to any travel agents kind of place. They often rent motorbikes. There's a lot around Bui Vien streets. I've talked about it a couple of times. That's like the backpacker area. You could just easily rent one. You usually have to give some kind of a deposit, maybe a couple of $100s, or your passport. So most people don't like to give their passport. You can come to some kind of arrangement to give them, you know, maybe a copy of your passport. If it looks like you're going to stay for a long time, they are pretty happy to, you know, rent it out without much paperwork or anything like that. So essentially, you can go very quickly and easily rent one. If you want to buy one, I recommend paying between $300 to $500 for a motorbike that's a few years old, so you can get a nice second-hand one. Don't get one that's like 10 years old like mine. So the reason for that is they've probably been ridden up and down the country by backpackers a million times. So if you pay like $200 for a motorbike, it's usually going to be off a backpacker, and it's going to be a bike that's just done so many miles and it's not been looked after, and it's going to have a lot of problems. So I learned the hard way that paying $130 for a motorbike, which was a good deal, in the long run, it gives you a bunch of hassles. That being said, it hasn't been expensive to fix it up. So in terms of that, you know, repairs, like today I went out and just got my motorbike fixed because it wasn't working after like the rain. I don't know why, it just wasn't starting. The guy just fiddled with it, and 5 minutes later it was working again. So he didn't even charge me. A few days ago, there was one tiny little part that was replaced. He spent like 15 minutes on it, and it costs $2 to like replace one part. So it's really cheap to get a bike fixed. But if you get a relatively new one that's a few years old, maybe 5 years old max, you're not gonna have basically any problems. And then all you have to worry about is gas. Gas can cost, depending on how much you drive, I usually fill up about once a week, and it costs $2 to fill up. All right, so if you're traveling more, you know, I stay quite close to our Ninja Teacher headquarters, as well as my gym, and going out is like the furthest I go, right? So I don't travel that far, so it could be up to double that maybe, but you're not going to be paying a lot on gas, really. It's like, it's negligible. It's like, you know, hardly anything. Anyway, check this out. It's a cool pool over here. So basically what I'm getting at here is it's very cheap, very easy. Checkouts, Facebook groups, Craigslist for motorbike listings. Just be wary if you buy it from a backpacker that it might be a sketchy bike. So pay a little bit more if you're gonna buy one, would be my recommendation. But then yeah, it's a cheap and easy way to get around. Transportation is not a big expense out when you're living in Vietnam. So if you're coming out here to teach, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Jumping on and learning how to ride a motorbike if you don't know how to. Spend a bit of time practicing in a safe environment on back streets and stuff like that. Like, I don't highly recommend, you know, just going into heavy traffic if you haven't ridden before, but it is something you can pick up relatively easily. So, you know, I'm you know, just wanting you to be safe, be responsible. Don't do anything that might endanger yourself or anyone else. However, that being said, most of the people I know out here are riding on motorbikes. If you don't feel comfortable, just do Uber, taxis. You're not going to spend that much more money, and that's also a very viable way of getting around. As for licenses, if you have an international motorbike driver's license, you can bring that over and you just go in to the government department and convert that into a Vietnamese license. If you want to actually get it done here, I know a few people that have done that, and you can actually just go to do your test. It's relatively easy and painless, and you can go and actually get a license here in Vietnam by doing that. So they'll, you know, have you covered for licenses. Alright, that's it for me. I'll see you soon for another video. Make sure to subscribe. Thumbs up this video if you find it helpful, and leave a comment below and let me know what you think about riding a motorbike in Vietnam. I know when you see the traffic it might seem a little bit daunting, but that being said, it's a great way to do things. So I'll see you soon in a new video, and that's it from me today. Cheers. Bye.